Hello and welcome to Bonus Action Dash. My name is Jaren, and this is weekly D&D prep, where I go through my weekly D&D prep, the prep for my Sunday night game. These are the actual notes that I'm going to be using for my game, which is in about 2 hours. We are running Rime of the Frostmaiden, the 5th edition adventure from WotC, and this is preparation for session number 48. It's about, I think, our third session in the ancient city of Ithrin, and we're going to go into that, talk about the things that we're probably going to do tonight, and we'll see how that goes. And as always, if you're here, if you watched this last week, we had a week off. So a lot of what I'm going to do tonight is kind of just a reiteration of last week's stream. As well, maybe we're going to go into some more specifics and get a little bit more in depth here with maps and some problems that I think we might be facing here. But let's go ahead and get into it. I realize that this is here. My camera's kind of off. This is weird. I think my webcam fell right when I was about to stream. It's still kind of off. There we go. But there are some things that I have kind of foreseen as might be problems that I'm hoping to hope. I think I have a good solution for. So let's go ahead and get into that. So last session, the players kind of finished up what they were doing in the library basement. They had had an encounter with the Arcanoloth Scrivenscry and his awakened giant penguin. It's awakened giant albino penguin named what is the name that we've got here? Kingsport. I knew it was a pretty simple, catchy name. That was a really close fight. One of our player characters almost died in that fight. It was one roll away from being an instant death, and it's a little terrifying. But they kind of knew that Ithrin was going to be deadly, so that's a thing. But Scrivenscry made it out. He used a dimension door to escape out to where I'm thinking probably he's hiding out somewhere in the Arboretum here, which is kind of a safe zone now since the Nether Oak that resides in the middle is sort of put out of commission for the time being. They decided to continue exploring, searching in the basement of the library in search of Scrivenscry, and at least to see what was down there. And it was more or less a bunch of lore dumps that they came across. They found out some stuff about Ithrin. Saw that it was just kind of a cool encounter. It wasn't meant to be a fight. There were some living Bigsby's hands that were not hostile. They exist to be like the librarians, I guess. They're putting away books, making sure the place is all nice and neat, and basically not being hostile, And they learned a few things about Ithrin in searching the books, and then had a short encounter with some Nothics, which was kind of an interesting encounter. And then from there, they returned back to take a rest in the Tower of Conjuration. And I know that I'm doing the Arcane Blight wrong, but I'm kind of too late to go back and correct it. I think the way you're supposed to do it is after 12 hours of being in Ithrin, that's when you start having players make checks once a day. And I've been doing it a little bit wrong, doing it basically like every 12 hours, but here we are. One of our players failed twice. They failed the first one, like maybe like beginning of the day, middle of the day when I had to make the check. And so it was a slow descent into distrusting the rest of the party. Really kind of heartbreaking and satisfying to watch as a dungeon master, to watch that unfold. But it ended with that player. It was my brother playing this character, set up inside the Tower of Conjuration in the magnificent mansion, and set up his dome and not let anybody else in. And it was really kind of interesting. The rest of the party kind of settled in around. We're trying to comfort and make sure that he was okay. And it was also during this time that the mansion started getting a lot colder. Frost beginning to cover everything. Frost covering the interior of the dome itself. Party started going, hey, what's going on? Did this tower start losing its magic? What's up? you know what, let's go to a different place, spend the night there where it's not so cold, and then we'll figure out what to do in the morning. And when they got out, that's when I had them see Oriel and her gang, her army of soldiers, marching in towards the center, the Tower of Iriel Arthas, where the Mythalar lives. And the party already knows that there's this magical force field that is tied to the 8 schools of magic that doesn't let anybody in. And Oriel just put a hand up to it and passed right through. Kind of disabled it temporarily. Yeah, and then started sucking the power from the Mythalar. That's what I'm having her down here. She knows the party is down here. She saw them go into the glacier. So she probably knows why they're down here. They're not just, excavators trying to see what's in the glacier. Um, they've encountered her before, once on Grimskala on the island of Solstice. But they saw her go into the Mythalar, start sapping the power, and Oriel didn't notice them. They were only kind of peeking out the entryway of the Tower of Conjuration. And so they scurried back into the tower, spent the night there, and Oriel was only there for like an hour. She started sapping the Mythalar and then had to rest. She rested sort of near the top of the tower, and our party didn't roll on the high enough perception to see her. But that's kind of where that ended. She took her army with her, and then everything kind of warmed back up again. We started the next morning with another roll for the Arcane Blight, and pretty much the entire party of the Sunseekers, aside from my brother, is at a point where they can't fail, because once you succeed, you roll a d6, lowers the DC by that amount, and with everybody's bonuses, I don't think anybody can really fail. So it feels silly to make them roll, even though they technically should be rolling. My brother is the only one that's kind of stuck in a rough spot. Has failed twice now, and that's kind of where we're starting. So, a couple of thoughts. The first one, well, first of all, I need to have the party roll for Valin's saves, because I forgot to do that. She's failed one. They got to roll a couple more times to see if she fails all the way. And I think it would be fun to have them roll that. So we'll see. Maybe there's still a chance for them to save Valin Harpel, who is wandering somewhere around Ithrin right now. Haven't decided where. But as far as solving the Arcane Blight, the party has our wizard of the party, Sarah Gritz. I checked her spell list. She does not have access to Greater Restoration, which is, I think that's the thing that that's intended to be used to deal with the Arcane Blight. If I remember correctly, let's check it out here. Yeah, Greater Restoration or similar magic ends the infection, removing the flaw and all other symptoms, but doesn't protect it against further exposure. I assume that means, it's like succeeding all the way on this, whereas where once you succeed, you are basically immune to it until future new exposure, like if you leave Ithrin and come back. So I assume that's how it's meant to be used. So knowing that it kind of feels bad to just have your character die to some random roll that you didn't know about and had no way to prepare for, is just a couple of bad rolls and your character's dead. Basically dead. They turn into an Nauthic once you fail all the way on the Arcane Blight. I thought, and knowing that Sarah Gritz doesn't have Greater Restoration, but does have Remove Curse. Rules as written in here, I don't think Remove Curse is supposed to work. But knowing how not fun of a experience that would be for the players, especially for the person sitting behind that character, I'm not giving them freebies. There's still going to be some work to be done. But I think what I'm going to use is the rules from Van Richten's on curses. I understand that that's kind of a specific setting, but I really like what they're doing with that, where with Remove Curse, it temporarily suppresses the effects of the curse for an hour. It doesn't remove it, but since this is sort of a much stronger curse-like effect, I kind of like the idea that Remove Curse, something that they're probably going to use, could temporarily suppress the effects. And I imagine on that character, that could have some pretty profound psychological results, they're gonna know exactly what they've said and done to the rest of their allies in the last 24 hours. They're gonna know how they treated them. They're gonna know that they were under the effects of something, and that their allies were here to help them. And then suddenly they realize that they were in the wrong, and the rest of the party knows that, hey, we've got a chance to either uh, make use of our friend here for an hour, or we've got to bust ass and try to find something that could solve this. Um, Most likely, I think what will happen, if I remember correctly, let's go back to the character sheet here. Let me go to let's go to D&D Beyond. Look at my brother's character sheet. I'm pretty sure that they've got Greater Restoration. I just want to double check because I think if he does, that's more than likely what's going to happen. They're all level 9. I think that's well within the reach. Lesser Restoration. Greater Invisibility. Oh no, maybe not. I thought for sure he had something for this. Is there something that destroy undead? Maybe it's in spells that can be prepared. I don't remember how clerics prepare spells though. Well, anyways, I'm pretty sure he's got something that can deal with that. So I suspect what will happen is they'll be able to, they'll have to make some rules, obviously, try to convince Gwen to use whatever magic he can to remove the curse. And then there's going to be some other effects too, I think seems fair. Since we're doing things kind of off script, I think what will be really cool is we'll have some form of long-term madness. We can have it roll on a table, and it's going to last for, I think, a D10 number of hours. So it's not like a permanent effect. It's just like, hey, you might be blind for the next 8 hours, as you're kind of struck by the side effects of this thing that grasped hold of your mind. Um, so I kind of like that idea. I think that's what we're going to do to start. Um, so let's kick things off. That's kind of where we are. That's kind of how I imagine it starting. Reviewing the characters. Uh, by the way, I think I don't need to do a whole recap of Rime of the Frostmaiden of Ithrin. If you're here, you're here. If not, you know, way too much to summarize. They are here to try to find a solution to the endless night and endless winter that has been plaguing 10 towns for the last 2 years. Icewind Dale and 10 towns. And they were brought here kind of partly by Valin Harpel and Gwendol's visions of and dreams of Ithrin. Looking for some magic, some answer. The answer, by the way, is most likely going to be, defeating Oriel, some combination of defeating Oriel and utilizing the power of the Mythalar. There's some other options too. They could, find the scroll of the Tarask, or activate the obelisk and go back in time. But I think this is the intended solution: is activating the Mythalar. Um, so Gwendol, our tiefling cleric, Twilight cleric. It's been, people say that it's kind of a broken class, and I kind of agree. Uh, it's really kind of throwing encounters out of whack, but it's okay. I think everybody's having a good time. Um, Twilight clerics are especially good for this scenario, this setting, because it's in a setting that you've got permanent night. Darkness is everywhere all the time. They're going through caves, they're going through a glacier, they're in an underground city. And being able to hand dark vision off to your allies is great. Being in dim light and being able to give yourself temporary flight, awesome. Um, Giving your allies temporary bonus HP like all the time is awesome. So his deal is dealing with the arcane blade. That's the big problem on his plate. We've got Sarah Gritz, who is the cleric, the wizard of the scribes, and also has the ability to transform into a werebear, because that's fun. That was something that they acquired over the course of the campaign. Um, think that, like I mentioned, I think that's kind of how her, I think on everybody's plate is trying to figure out how to fix Gwen. And you know, solve the rest of the towers. Uh, Mars Ramazi is our female barbarian tiefling, and has been kind of the mom of the group. I think she is really good at looking after everybody. Uh, her kind of solution to conflict is going swinging, and that's kind of what happened with the fight with the Arcanoloth with Scriven Scry. Uh, they were passed this note from the penguin that said "Help me," and her solution to that was to take a book and walk up and just smack him, smack Scriven Scry with it, and that kicked off the fight. And you know, here in Aethren, that might not be the smartest solution. Jack Forrest, Wabajack Forest Walker, is male Warforged. Is Echo Knight, Echo Knight fighter. That's been super fun. He's been able to use his Echo as sort of a meat shield, and you know, use it to basically give himself flanking bonuses all the time. I'm using the +2 flanking variant as opposed to straight up advantage, because I think straight up advantage is pretty dang good. I don't know that it would totally wreck a campaign for a party of this size. It's only 4 people. I decided to do that for this one because of the last one that I ran, which had 7 people in it. That was Storm King's Thunder, and we did use flanking with advantage. And when you've got parties of that size, it's really easy to take yourself out of the immersion of the combat and to strictly look at it from a player's perspective, top down on a grid, and go, hey, if I stand here and you stand over there, and you go over here, and if you put your token over there, you know, not thinking about if your character would be there or not, but just positioning yourself, hey, we can give each other all advantage just by, you know, I take 5 steps to the right, just not that it makes any combat sense, but to give my ally advantage. And so I wanted to step away from thinking in that tactical kind of a way. With this campaign, I don't think it would really matter with a party size of 4, but I really like this variant better than straight up advantage. We are starting on the morning of chest 29, 1489 DR, at least as much as the party thinks. They don't know yet that Aethren was messing with time magic with the obelisks. So once they get back into 10 towns, they're going to find that a bit more time has passed than they thought. So I like turning that dial and ramping it up a little bit when they get back to 10 towns and find out that it's a bit different than they left it. Oriel's kind of moved in a little bit. Blizzards are a lot worse. Much of the town is staying kind of you know, underground, indoors. They're not traveling openly. They've kind of developed these series of underground tunnels to stay out of sight of Aurel. You know, much more secretive and underground. Maybe the followers of Aurel, the children, are worshipping much more openly and aggressively. So that's why the rest of the town is kind of staying out of sight. I'm looking forward to seeing the party's reaction to that. So we start with Gwen's making a last-ditch effort to shrug off the effects of the blight. I'm guessing Sarah's going to intervene somehow, and we've got that scene to play out. The other problem, I talked about 2 problems, one being the arcane blight, and I think I've got a pretty good solution. The other problem that I'm anticipating and sort of facing here and considering is just straight up campaign momentum. You know, we took a week off last week, and we still got quite a bit to do here in Aethren. Looking at this, if I was running this by the book, I probably wouldn't be as concerned because it's way easier for them to hop around and pick up pieces of the Arcane Octad, because you go into these towers and they're just, it's inscriptions on the wall. That's it. You walk through the doors and there it is, pretty much. So I'm not using that. I'm using the Aethren Towers Expanded. Really awesome supplement on the DM's Guild. Highly recommend it. It's like $12 for all 8 of them, so it's super cheap. But I worried because based on the pacing that we've done so far, they've got 3 out of 8 towers done. I worry that we're going to spend a lot of time doing these towers for not that big of a payoff. Right? What's the payoff for completing the towers? Well, you get the full Rite of the Arcane Octad. And that lets you unlock another tower, right? I don't want to spend the next 6 sessions, potentially a month and a half to 2 months, finishing the Rite of the Arcane Octad to say, congratulations, you unlock, you can go and touch the Mythalar, you can go and attune to it, but guess what? Uriel Arthas is already attuned. Now you have to go fight that tower. So it's like, yeah, spend 2 months finishing the towers to unlock another tower. So I think I have to make the executive decision to cut some stuff. Not straight up cut it, but I thought, how can I make it so they don't have to do all these towers? And I think I've got a good solution. I've been talking quite a bit today prior to this stream because I've been having discussions about the one D&D playtest, and maybe I'll do a stream on my opinions on that. So my voice is a little bit out of it already. That's why I'm drinking a bunch of water. But I have a good solution, I think. As much as I love all the towers, I think there's all super cool. I might have to cut a couple, and I think the ones that I am going to do, or the ones that I'm going to cut, I'm going to do. It will still keep the Tower of Divination. That's the one, it's these towers that they're close to, right? They are currently here in the Tower of Conjuration. Tower of Divination is right here. This is that cool one with where they go in and see all these celestial bodies on the ground, and they can look up and see the starry ceiling. It's kind of combining a bit of the observatory in the book with the Tower of Divination. But they get a vision. They get the ability to have the foresight spell. And they can see, they can use this divine sense to gain insight into the future. Excuse me. And touching each one of these celestial bodies. These are different bodies in this system. They each do a different thing, right? The sun casts fireball. This one, I think this is Koliar, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not as familiar with these systems. I think that's what this is called. Yeah, Koliar. The one off to the bottom right is Carpri. This one is Saloon. They all do different effects. You touch them once, and you can do different effects. Give yourself Wall of Water and Jump and Long Strider and Stone Skin. All these cool things. And you look up in the ceiling, and you can kind of get a sense of what these all do. Or maybe one of them, And then you also get this vision. You get this vision, this divine look into the future, into the very immediate future, that, hey, on your way to this tower, there was some Nothics watching you. And now that you're here, they're going to attack in waves. And so you've got like all around to prepare, and then Nothics attack. The second part of this is talking to High Diviner Apius, who accidentally turned herself into a blue slod. She was studying slod before Ethan crashed. Then it crashed. The slod infected her and has turned her into a slod now. She doesn't remember, what part of the Arcane Octad was entrusted to her, but she remembers, I kind of remember what the Octad's for. I wrote it down in my spellbook somewhere. But she can look, she's got this really high-powered telescope that the party can use to try and locate where her spellbook is. And I like this sort of mechanic because it allows me, the Dungeon Master, to direct players pretty much wherever I want them to go next. And I think the smart thing here would be to direct them back to the Arboretum, where, if they try to locate the spellbook to say, well, we need to figure out where this is, it shows it in possession of Scrivenscry. And they can make the decision. They'll go back and have the face-off with them to go, do we want to go the violent route and take it from you by force and risk our life again? Or do we want to make the trade and make that moral decision of spellbook that has the thing we need in exchange for Kingsport? Who we know that Scrivenscry was being a horrible master and being kind of abusive. Moral trade-off. What do they want to do? If I had to guess, they'll choose violence. But, maybe they'll make a different choice now. But I kind of like that as the direction, and that is the Tower of Divination. The other tower that they're definitely going to do is Necromancy. This is that really, really interesting one with the Brain in a Jar, this this hilarious NPC named Lawrence, who uses Mage Hand to put a lab coat over his jar, and uses Mage Hands to kind of like subconsciously paint his expression on his face. It's just really kind of funny, and he's going to try to ask players to help them perform the ritual of brain transfer on this Nothic. And if they decide to head on upstairs, Lawrence, by the way, complete denial that his master is dead. He grows agitated if they try to talk some sense into him. If they go upstairs, they find the destroyed body of the necromancer Katavix, and he will try to take over the body of anybody in the party that is, susceptible, because he's got some motivations. He's got some stuff he wants to accomplish. His body was safeguarded, or his soul was safeguarded in a magic jar spell, and his body is now kind of too far damaged for his soul to enter back in. So he's going to try to take over one of the party members' bodies, search the tower for a diamond to, resurrect his body. What he wants to do is get back to, where is it? It is the Tower of... Tower of Enchantment. High Enchanter Elvira. They had a secret romance, so he's got a motivation. He wants to go and find out what happened to her, make sure that she's okay. So he's like, hey, help me go find her, and I'll give you the piece of the puzzle that you need. So that is the other tower that we're going to do, is the Tower of Enchantment. So we're potentially scrapping the towers of... Oh, gosh. I think it is... Yeah, Transmutation and... not Abjuration. We already did that one. Transmutation... and Evocation. Not that those are interesting. It's just I got to make some choices. I got to make some executive decisions to make sure that we're maintaining momentum, maintaining interest. As different as the towers all are, they kind of feel repetitive, especially if we're doing all 8. So what I thought I could do, if I'm going to cut those, by the way, the Tower of Enchantment is clear across on the other side of the map. So players are going to have to travel from Necromancy all the way across, passing this random tower that's not the Tower of Illusion, because I already used that. Past the Tower of Evocation. Was that the other one? I already forgot. Yeah, this is the Tower of Evocation, the one that I'm not doing. Which this actually makes sense, and go to the Tower of Enchantment. I think this makes a lot of sense here, because what I thought I might do is, because I've got 2 other members of the Arcane Brotherhood bopping around. Valen is still walking around somewhere, and have also thrown Dazan down here. I'm really looking forward to this reveal. A long time ago, when the party was in East Haven, and they saw Dazan get burned at the stake, and they found a simulacrum later on in the Lost Spire, they theorized that maybe the thing that we saw get burned wasn't the real Dazan. Maybe there's others. Maybe what we saw was a simulacrum. Maybe there's a bunch of simulacrums. I don't know. So I thought it would be really cool to run with that idea. And now actual Dazan is down here in Ithrin at the obelisk. Probably did his research, did his homework, found out that they were messing with magical obelisks that had super powerful stuff. Maybe even discovered, going through some notes, that they were messing with time travel, and knowing that, decided that he's not gonna mess with the Mythalar. He wants to go back in time and basically pick up where Karsus left off. Look up Karsus Folly if you're unfamiliar with that idea. Basically, he wants to actually steal the power of a god instead of fail at it, which is what Karsus did, and take over the power of Mistral. Learning from mistakes. He's very vain and egotistical, and wants to go like, well, hey, if gods have power beyond 9th level spells, if they got all this stuff and are now saying that we can't access it, shouldn't it be the goal of anybody that is in search of knowledge, anybody that is self-respecting in search of knowledge and arcane power, And if gods aren't really, better than mortals, if they're just people that have access to more knowledge, more attunement, and familiarity with the weave, they're more tapped into the weave. Shouldn't it be the goal of any arcane caster, anybody self-respecting magic user, to try to get as much knowledge as they possibly can? And what better way to do that than to take the place of a god, to tap into what Mistral has? She's saying, I can't have it for reasons. Well, I'm going to try to do that. I'm going to try to learn from the past, not make those mistakes, and do what Karsus couldn't. So that's design. And so he's got himself. He's got the simulacrum that was made real in the rune chamber in the Lost Spire. And he's got one of our players' NPC, backstory NPCs, Esther. She's not really there because I think what he did, what Dazan did, was he realized that the obelisk needed something to trigger it, something to activate it. Probably, reasoned out that Aerial Arthas has something that activates it. Maybe it's a wand, maybe it's a runestone, maybe it's a switch, maybe it's a magical staff. I don't know. But Esther, go in there and find it. He's really using the crap out of her, basically as a pawn. I imagine that he casts some flight spell or something to try to have her fly up to the interior of the tower. She was not able to do that, obviously, because there's this magical force field. And when Auril entered in, she dropped into the tower and is now just kind of unconscious in there. As I imagine that Aerial Arthas was really not cool with somebody being in his space. So it'd be fun once the party realizes that and sees Dazan, once they are with High Necromancer Katavix and start marching over to the Tower of Enchantment, they run into Dazan and his cronies. And I set up a map for this too. I don't know where I get the base map, but I might have found this on the internet. I don't know. And then I just put in a bunch of assets from Roll20. I made the obelisk. I just drew a circle and put this thing on there. I put down some pillars. We've got this is the party, obviously, and then we've got Dazan Simulacrum, and his bodyguard Krintos. I imagine there will be a fight. I don't see how there couldn't be. Once Sarah realizes that Dazan may have endangered the life of Esther and knows where she is, it's probably inevitably that there's going to be a fight. So I imagine that. So the whole reason I bring that up is because I think it makes sense that Dazan probably went through some of these towers himself, especially the Tower of Evocation. It's right there. It's right there. The other one that I'm not doing, where is that one located? I hope that makes sense. Transmutation. And Transmutation, I straight up don't remember where this one is. Oh, is this the one that's close to the here it is. Yeah, it's close to the Chain Lightning Stadium. Because the High Transmuter was a big fan of Chain Lightning. So I guess this kind of makes sense. They're roughly close. So I think it makes sense that Dazan would have gone and completed some of these towers. So after defeating Dazan, they can loot his body, get the spell book or whatever. But also probably has written in his notes the 2 pieces of the Octad that he would have acquired from these 2 towers. And that's how they're going to save some time, and in my mind, not lose momentum in this thing. Not have us spend the next 2 months completing these towers, because they're not going at a speed run sort of a pace. Even if we do 1 tower a session, that's still 5 more sessions to go if we do it all the rest of the 8 towers. If I am able to shorten that a little bit, that means they got to do 3 more towers, which could be done in, maybe they go quick. Maybe some of these I take out some of the encounters, and we are able to get it done much quicker, because I do want to spend a good amount of time in the Spire of Aerial Arthas, because that is a super cool location, and some really cool stuff there. then we still have to go back and finish the actual campaign and save 10 towns. So that's kind of my plans there. I'm unsure what I'm going to do with Valen if she happens to make her saves. Um, I guess let's complete our notes. Let's see here. Secrets and clues. There's still a bunch that I think we could be using from. Where is it? The Ethrin lore table. Um, I do think they know a bunch of this stuff, but I think there's still a handful of them they don't know. The other things that could be secrets and clues that I'm not gonna write down because I kind of already have it written down. I'm not gonna put it on this page, but I do have some things in the actual PDF for these different towers, and I think could be really useful. For instance, the fact that High Diviner Apius. I don't think I can pull over this PDF because I don't want to. I don't want to get in trouble for sharing, purchased content. If you want to go support this creator, go buy this stuff on DM's Guild. I think you can buy individual documents for like $1 or $2. It's well worth the money. You get really beautiful maps and multiple page PDFs that are all well written and thematic, as well as you get all the stat blocks for monsters and items that are referenced there. It's super great. And it's really memorable. A couple of really memorable NPCs are included too. But some secrets specific to those towers, for instance, the fact that High Diviner Apius was studying blue slots, and she succumbed to the chaos phage from the slot once Ethrin crashed. The fact that High Necromancer Cadavix had this relationship with Enchantress Evira, the Enchanter Evira. And his body is trapped in this emerald from the magic jar spell. Uh, we still have some information to discover regarding some locations that they're not towers, but like if the party decides to go to the Bazaar, or the Hall of Silk, maybe the theater even. There's some stuff to discover there. I do have a map just in case there's an encounter at the Bazaar. I don't really anticipate it, but I've got it ready. Also, with the menagerie, there's some cool stuff. They could go there and discover that they need to, give up some HP to make this weird amalgamation of a creature. They couldn't do that, and I think we're gonna tie in some stuff regarding Esther there as well. Maybe they'll find a patch of a blue cloak or something like that. I want to lay in some clues regarding Esther that might not be obvious Esther clues until they get to the obelisk and put it all together and go, oh, that cloak belonged to Esther. Oh, those pages from a book that looked all new was from Esther. Maybe I'll go and like drop some stuff from her inventory in there as well. I'll, just some cool stuff like that. It might not be immediately obvious, but once they realize what's going on, they'll kind of put the pieces together. One thing I want to make a note of, because I found myself last time kind of bopping around, struggling to, maybe it's already in here and I just didn't notice it. And that is which tower has which part of the Arcane Octad. No, it's not. So let's just do that real quick. You know what? We'll make this a bigger heading. H2. Let's make this checklist. And here, let's put them in order. No, let's not put them in order. Let's put them by tower first. And they've done illusion. What was it? Illusion was the mask your appearance. Which we did hide thy face from the sky. We've also got conjuration and abjuration. Are the three that they've done. And conjuration, abjuration was what? See, I kind of wish that the book did a better job of, you know, I would like there to be a table or something that shows each tower and then what secret you can get, what step you can get from each one. Instead of me having to, you know, I'm looking at PDFs right now for these different towers expanded, but you know, if you're looking at this in the book or on the Roll20 module, you gotta, you know, scroll through here and go to the correct paragraph, and it's kind of annoying. So abjuration was what? Was the first one. Step 1. First, shield thy heart with a wand from the nether oak. And abjuration. No, this was abjuration. I have this backwards. Conjuration, which is the one they just did. This one. Scrolling. Oh, there's a treasure chest in the Tower of Conjuration that they never took. Where is it? See how much trouble I'm having finding this? Here it is. This is the second step. 2. Second. Summon flame in the palm of your hand. This was 6th. So what do we got left? Divination, necromancy, enchantment, transmutation, and evocation. Divination is what? Third. Step 3. Third. I think this is a bit expanded from what the book says, but that's I kind of like this. A burnt palm looses the tongue. Shed a secret of yourself for all to hear. Necromancy. is 7. Trace a circle with the ashes of the dead. Good luck solving that one. How are you gonna do that, party? Good luck. Enchantment. I like the Tower of Enchantment. This is cool. But what is in there? Which step is there? Is 4th. Step 4. 4th. Coax a secret from another. So you have to you have to tell a secret in step 3, and then coax a secret from somebody else in step 4. Okay. So you shield your heart with a wand. You put a flame in your hand. You tell a secret. You get someone else to tell a secret. Step 5, transmutation. Almost done. Is 8th. So that must mean evocation is step 5. This is the last one. Okay. 8th. 8th. Stand in a circle. Stand firm in thy circle of death and consume poison. Good luck with that one. This one must be step 5. The last tower. Tower of evocation. Fifth, quench the flame in thy hand with ice. So you shield your heart, you put a flame in your hand, you tell a secret, you get somebody else to tell a secret, you put the secret out, hide your face, trace a circle with ashes, and stand in the circle and consume poison. This is a weird ritual. All feels like a bunch of unrelated random things. But they have done illusion, conjuration, and abjuration, and they will not need to do these 2. That's the proposal, anyways. We'll have 3 more to go. Divination, necromancy, and enchantment. And I kind of like that for reasons that I mentioned. It's going to make sure that we don't lose the momentum and that we were spending more of our time inside the spire of Iriel Arthas. Because I still have a bunch of stuff here that's not the towers to do. We still have the encounter with Dazan. We potentially have an encounter with Scriven Scry. We might have a run-in with Valen. I don't know. Maybe they'll find her as a Nothic and have to, old yeller her, put her out of her misery. We'll see. I don't know what's going to happen. But I think we're basically ready to go. I'm anticipating that, I guess, if we immediately, what's the most likely place for them to go right away? They could go exploring the House of the Arcane. I know that there was some interest in checking out what it is because it is pretty cool looking. And this is I don't need a map for this. It's just an interesting theater of the mind experience where they see these beautiful stained glass depictions of the 8 different wizards in their schools of magic. There's a cool chalice that is still standing on a podium where everything inside the House of the Arcane is still covered in frost, and with the exception of this chalice, which can bestow magical charms on anybody that drinks from it. I think it's the kind of item that doesn't leave the House of the Arcane, so you kind of leave it there to give yourself a charm. Um, but I think the most likely places for them to go, I don't know, hopefully, is to go to these other towers. They know they're looking for towers. They can probably see one of the symbols from where they are, or at least if they kind of go back towards the library. There is also this possibility of an encounter at the Wellspring of Answers. You know, I've kind of already laid the groundwork for that, so I don't think I can totally cut it. But I do have that map ready to go just in case. It's more just flavor lore because it doesn't really have anything to do with this particular campaign. It's just something that exists there. But if they do, I have this map ready. And there's unfortunately not really like a good token for it. It's not an actual Hydra. It is I think five. Yeah, the telepathic pentacle was five different wizards that attempted to uh, join consciousness, and things went pretty badly. And it's now like five conjoined twin. It's a weird mishmash of uh, you know long dead creatures that are gonna crawl up out of this pit. Um, and attack the party basically. In the Caves of Hunger, they came across a fountain. That was a fountain to the Wellspring of Answers, the telepathic pentacle, where people could come and pay tribute. And the creepy thing was it wasn't so much a collective consciousness as it was a failed experiment. This thing in the well, as it were. And when Ethrin crashed, the top of the fountain broke off and is now on some stone platform in the Caves of Hunger where they discovered it. So now they're seeing it inside the pit and seeing what's actually below it. So if they do this, it's an encounter. I'm not going to be hung up if we don't do this. I think now I'm just delaying the inevitable, and I need to give my voice a break so that I can run Ethrin in an hour. Very much looking forward to this. I added some music too. I went and picked up a copy of the soundtrack to what is it? It is I'm not so great at remembering names whenever I start these streams. The Pillars of Eternity. Great collection of music. If you're streaming, I guess you probably need to make sure that you're getting the correct you know permissions and whatever, and paying the correct royalties if it's needed for. But I'm running a home game with friends, so I'm gonna play some really good high quality music during tonight's game, and hopefully it makes for a good experience. But I think that'll about do it. So I will see you all next week, Sundays, 5 o'clock here Central Standard Time on twitch.tv/bonus action dash, where we do weekly D&D prep. As I mentioned at the start of the stream, I might do one where I go through my response to the one D&D playtest. I've got a lot of opinions, and that's partially why my voice is shot, because I have been talking about it with some friends all weekend. I've had opinions all weekend. I'm not really happy about it, so maybe we'll do a stream on that. But let's leave on a positive note and wrap it up here. So we'll see you all next week. Thank you for watching either the VOD or right now. I don't know who's on right now, but thank you if you are. And we'll see you all next week.